Hi everyone, I'm here with my trusty old washer from LG, 18 years old, running really nicely. I just had to repair it once, but now I have a problem with the gasket of the door. It's actually dripping water from below, and I thought it was the outlet of the filter, but it is really dry after each wash, and I suspect that there is a leaking on the gasket itself. That's the only other possibility. So I'm going to replace the gasket today. Let's go. Just to give you a visual, there is the gasket here, and this usually accumulates a lot of water, and it can get pretty nasty over time. That's why you need to dry out the machine, but there's always still water in here. So over the last few years we started drying here, but I guess this rubber ended up getting dislodged or burst somehow. So I'm gonna replace that. That's the piece that is gonna be replaced. And initially I thought it was on the outlet of the sewer system, but it isn't. So that's everything's all right on this part of it. So I'm going to actually have to remove this front of the machine, and I'm going to show how to do it. First of all, always turn off the water and the electricity to the machine. Okay, with the water turned off and the machine disconnected, I just had to remove the top cover by removing the bottom screws only. You don't need to remove the top one. Once you remove those two, you pull the cover up to expose the top of the machine. To remove the machine, you pull it backwards to the back, and then it comes off its hinges. Then you need to start removing the front panel. You need to remove first the dispenser. You just have to press this tab here and remove the drawer. Then you need to, with a Phillips screwdriver, remove those two screws on the side of the dispenser box. Notice you don't have to remove the box itself. This is just needed to remove the panel, the front panel here with all the electronics. So to lift this board here, you need to remove this clip here at the bottom of the cable and this one here, so the electronics board can be lifted normally. Let me see here. So the electronics board is free to actually, so this panel will actually be lifted up. Once the connections are removed, I can actually pull it. Just be careful with the tabs. Sometimes they can be a little bit tricky to pull off, and just be careful to not break any, right? Because this can get a little bit tricky. But you notice that the board is coming together, so that is why you need to disconnect those. I just want to make sure that I'm not gonna break any tabs or anything like that. The first time is always hard for everything. There you go. Oh, I forgot to disconnect. Sorry, I forgot to disconnect the two connectors in here. The two connectors that are tied to the zip ties. There's one with the blue and brown, which has a tab. You press the tab and you remove it. And the other one also has a tab with the red one, the red wire. It also has a tab that you press it and pull it. Then you can flip this on its side, on top of the machine. Okay, once we are here, great opportunity to clean those areas that are never accessed. Great thing, there's a lot of soap in here and you can tell a lot of rust. Okay, once you remove the top panel, now it's time to remove the first spring of the outer gasket, which is in here. You can simply put a flat head and then start pulling off the spring from its housing. See? There you go. Now we removed it. Good time also for cleaning it. There's a lot of rust caused by soap. So once you do that, you start removing the gasket from its place. Just the first one. There's the first set. This is the part of the gasket that I would imagine you start showing some signs of perhaps deterioration, degradation. I only see rust in here. I don't see necessarily a pierce or anything like that. So you kind of I'm examining the gasket, and it seems to have a pierced something here, but just in the inner part. Oh, there you go. Oh, there's something in here. So here it is, just a little bit of light, and you can see there's a hole in here. So yeah, just pulling back, and here's a hole in here, and there's a lot of crud on the machine right outside here. So definitely this is a problem that needs to be replaced. Okay, so once here, you have to remove these 3 screws to release the panel from the chassis. Okay, so once the screws are removed, close the door so I don't have any problems in here. And then, oops, I don't want it to tag it to the to the rubber itself. I don't want the door to tag it to the rubber itself. Then you lift it up. The front, because this hinge is actually putting it down. Be careful to not cut your hands in here, because it's very sharp. It's very sharp. Oh, forgot one thing. Forgot at the bottom. At the bottom there is a screw. So after removing the screws on the top, let's remove the screws at the bottom. Let me take it out. The plastic housing for the external filter. There's a screw in here, and once we do that, this is one on the screws. Once we finish with that, we need to detach the front here, and then remove this other screw in here. Screws holding the unit back. The unit, no, the panel back. It's another screw here, and naturally let's detach the spring, the hose, so we don't have a problem. Now we are ready to lift the panel up and remove it completely. So let's remove the panel by lifting it up and detaching from its hinges and pulling it forward. Okay, there you go. Oops, it's a little bit attached. Okay, good. So now I have a cable here. Let me show you. Let me zoom in. There's a cable that needs to be detached from the door sensor. This is a cable that needs to be detached. Same thing as the other 2 connectors. There is a tab that you need to press with your finger and then pull down on the connector. There's a tab here. So you want to make sure that you're pulling the tab and pushing it down. Now we can remove this front panel entirely. Okay, since we're here, I brought my headlamp just to verify if there's any other leakage. Naturally, this is a source of leakage. I'm going to clean this up, but I don't see. Take your time to look at the outlet of the sewer and other things like that to see if there's signs of water or hard water and things like that, and scale, buildup of scale and whatnot, just to see if there's anything leaking. I can take a look at the bottom of the plastic and see the buildup of scale in here at the bottom, but simply because this was leaking through the bottom plastic panel and going to the floor. So I don't see any other problems in here that demand attention. So I think we're good to go just replacing this. I did a thorough cleanup of this area here that had a leak, and also all around the bottom plastics, And not only this is a good thing to do in general, right? Good practice, but also it helps in the future if you need to investigate other sources of leakage and things like that. Because then you start with a clean slate. Don't have to track down the history of leaks on the machine. Well, once you're here, you have access to the beautiful spring, and now I need to remove it. Just be careful a little bit so you don't destroy much, but it's similar, the removal process is similar to the other one. Just want to make sure that this is all good. Good. There you go. Oof. There you go. Ta-da! Now you remove the original gasket from its crevices in here. You can pour in a little bit of condensing powder with the screwdriver. There you go. It's important to notice how he actually fixes in here and how it goes in. So when you reassemble, you do the exact opposite scenario. Okay, so there you go. Ta-da, the old one. See, there's lots of dirt and stuff, but this is normal especially for an 18-year-old machine. There you go. Okay, so time to install the new one. This is the new part, and you see you want to locate the top pointy arrow here. Look it up, but to install it, you just flip around. So this is the part that should be closer to the plastic tumbler, and then you have several crevices. This is the crevice where it goes the spring, so it's outside. The last thing, this is the groove that actually goes in here, in this part here, the plastic part on the tumbler. This is the fixed part, and this is the rotating part. The rotating part, it's actually does not fit anywhere, but it actually, this is where this lower lip here goes underneath the plastic part here, the plastic crevice in here. And in order to keep these things tidy and easier to install, it is better. People use soap and whatnot. I'm gonna use I prefer to use some silicone, just a sealant, not a glue. Just a sealant that I'm gonna use on this groove here, so it makes also easier to attach this to the tumbler. Let's start. Okay, it is placed. So it was a little bit of a battle, but just to be sure, whenever you start putting this the top part on the crevice, just make sure that as you go around, you're holding the parts that you already inserted it. Otherwise, as you pull on one side, then the other side comes comes a little bit loose, and then it pulls back. So that is how we need to balance it out. This is a little bit crooked, but that's actually something that will be formed over as the front panel comes. So everything is fine. Now it's time to actually place the spring. Now it's time to place the retainer for the gasket. You can use the pressure plier with very strong pressure on the tip of the spring, and on the other side you can grab. I'm gonna grab this with my circular jaws and pliers, and then I'm gonna pull back on both. The only thing that you need to do, be absolutely certain, is that the retainer is actually in the proper groove. Otherwise, it will be, you damage your gasket, and you also need to be careful because, of course, if it's not on the groove, then you have to put extra pressure in there. But there's a lot of pressure attached to it, so it is something I'm gonna do offline. Well, I swear I tried the two-plier method with all my might and many other things, including other different pliers, but in the end I had to buy a real spring extender, because the leverage to pull the two sides of the spring together was very minimal, and also the chances of hitting your hand in parts of the machine was very high. I wasn't really risking too much, so I guess you can call me whatever you want. But I end up going the spring extender route. So you simply hit it, and then you put it the spring. You actually extend the spring using the pliers, and then you put the ring on its groove, on its correct groove. You just want to be absolutely sure, just like in the other method, that everything is actually correctly placed as they should on the groove of the gasket. And this actually makes this work a lot simpler to complete. The other method was very complicated, and the problem is that it was a lot hard really to get some leverage on the spring or to pull back on the spring. So yeah, that's how this goes. Okay, even with the pliers is not an easy task, because it's the wire keeps falling off the groove, so you always have to be very careful with that. So now it is all in place. We're gonna now reassemble everything. Okay, to replace the cover, just make sure the front panel, just make sure that the rubber is in correct place, the gasket is not twisted or anything like that. Also make sure that you actually see the footings in here that you can place, and also make sure that there's a small sewer dripping hose is not going to be punched. So you put it like that, and you fit in, make sure that the gasket is correct, and then you can pull in. Oh, and you check the lift a little as well. And make sure everything falls into place. You can open the door just to be certain that the gasket is in the correct position, and everything should be hunky-dory right now. So one additional step that you need before you actually replace the front door is actually connect the electrical connector to the door, into the door lock here. Don't forget that, otherwise you have to redo everything. So the next step that I did actually was to be sure that the gasket was actually fitting properly on the opening here. So this is a lot more work than originally expected, because you need to be sure that the lip is actually over the metal lip of the actual panel, the sheet metal. And the other thing too is that of course you need the anneal with the spring. So the pliers also help with that, but the pressure on these rings is a lot smaller than on the internal ring, so the job is a lot easier. But just be sure to actually before you actually put the spring and tighten, just be sure that the lip is actually correctly out there. So that's one important bit. Right now I'm a bit suspicious, because there's a lot of these grooves here, not grooves but like undulations on the gasket. So I'm a bit concerned that it doesn't fit properly. But let's see, we'll have to actually test this and see if actually the gasket is properly sealing against the glass here on the door. I looked at it, I closed the door. I didn't see much of the pressure, but I don't know. I would have to actually really test this to see if the gasket is actually of good quality. So the assembly was simple. Just put back the screw for the front panel. Make sure you pull the hose and replace this small panel here. Just make sure that everything is properly set, and I need my other screw. Putting back the sewer drain line and the front cover. Now the 3 front screws on the top of the front panel. the way, I did a little bit of treatment here. It doesn't look terribly great, but a little bit of treatment here to actually protect the corroded areas. Sand it off and protect it a little. Now replacing the front panel, making sure that the bottom fittings are fitting on the openings at the sheet metal, so you don't break any plastics. You can juggle a little bit just to be sure that everything is properly connected, and then you start with the now putting back the 2 screws for the dispenser. And before you close, you need to do replace the connectors in here. Oops, the red one and the white one. They're almost in place already. Then you can put the clips. I'm sorry, the clips in here for the white. The white wire, and the black wire goes, the other one for the other wires is over there. Now it's ready to put the cover and start the machine. Well, to validate the front gasket, I'll put the machine in the QC test mode according to the service manual. You simply press soil level and spin speed buttons, and then you press power button, and it starts on the service menu. It's out of the top, without the top cover, because I want to make sure that everything is correct. And this clunk, it actually means that I replaced the connector on the door correctly, because that is the relay that actually locks the door. So I'm good to start. Alright, the water is about to hit the gasket. It's filling. I'm on test mode, filling the tub. Let's see if it reaches the gasket. See, now the water is flowing this way. Let's see if it actually starts leaking or not. At this point it shouldn't leak at all, but let's see. You never know. Oh, here's the water. Here comes the water. Oh. Okay, I need probably to, because it reached the maximum level of the water. So it's not really leaking from here. Let me try the other valve. Oh, we reached already the level that it was supposed to reach. Should start turning. Now we go. Now the water is reaching here the leak, the gasket. There's nothing so far. Nothing so far. Okay. Okay, verdict. A lot of work, but the gasket actually is very dry here, so it's good, and it's totally worth it, the difference from a brand new machine. But you need the pliers. You need the spring compression pliers or expander pliers. Overall, that was a successful job. Alright, see you next time. Hope you have liked.